Joining us now for the second time, a national champion as head coach here at the University of Maryland. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program Coach John Tillman, who's with us on GCR. Coach, I know it's got to be an insane day. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes to squeeze us in this morning.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a kind of crazy couple weeks here. Certainly a really fast and furious last few days. You can't make up some of the stuff that happened between the weather delay and,
Right.
guys getting hurt and the weather and, guys cramping, guys, whatever. That's kind of how life is. And it's part of the process, right? It's just whatever comes your way, try to manage it to the best of your ability.
Our friend Patrick Stevens wrote at USA Lacrosse magazine. He used the term "it's all that mattered." That none of the other stuff, the fact that it got kind of hairy there for a minute in the fourth quarter, all the stuff you just talked about, all that matters is your national champions. Did you have that feeling as the day went on? Like all of this stuff that we've had to go through, who the hell cares? We're national champions now.
Yeah, we definitely, I give our kids a lot of credit. There's no easy way to kind of win that last game, but we certainly weren't kind of, when you look at the macro view, like the draw was a pretty challenging draw to play a team that was the two-time defending national champion and ranked really in the top five in the coaches poll most of the year is in the quarters. And then having to come back, and by the time I got back on that Sunday, from that Sunday quarterfinal, I got back to my house at about 5 a.m. We bussed back, and we had some bus problems, and the kids were pretty gassed from that. And then we had to turn around on Thursday morning, practice at 7:30, and then drive up to Hartford. So it was fast, furious. We had a few injuries that we had to deal with. We had that delay. Certainly both teams had to deal with the delay. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just crazy. We went from, thunder and lightning. We were over at the game. We went back to the hotel. We went back. By the time I started watching film on Saturday night to get ready for Cornell, I think it was quarter to midnight. So I think a lot of us were running on fumes. And Cornell is obviously a great team, fortunate to get the win, and I thought they played hard as they have all year and played well. Just you could tell we were starting to run out of gas. Guys were going down, and if that was another quarter, I'm not sure what happens.
Yeah, the good news is it wasn't. The good news is you never
Yeah.
have to worry about that. Coach John Tillman with us on GCR. Coach, when we chatted a couple weeks ago, it was before the Virginia game, and it really struck me. You said we're not trying to hide from what happened. We know what happened, and we're not trying to have them block it out. We're not trying to ignore the fact that this is the team that's knocked us out the last couple of years. And I talked to John Donville last week, and obviously the Cornell thing for him, for you, it's out there. How were you able to handle all of these things, all of the pressure that came with undefeated season, coming up short a year ago, the school that this young man was at, the school that means so much to you, all of that stuff? How were you able to use all of that in order to get across the finish line?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's communication. You're trying to get a sense of what are the kids hearing, and then what do we do to bring them back to center. You could tell it was, John and I were out in Ohio last year, and we were watching the Cornell-Delaware game because we were just kind of waiting for them to finish. And, we get over there early and just sitting in the locker room. So you're sitting in the locker room where you can come out and you can watch the other game. So John and I were out by ourselves, and, we're watching Delaware and Cornell, and John looks at me, he goes, we're going to play Cornell. And I said, well, I don't know. Like, you don't know. He goes, oh, no. He goes, I'm just telling you, this is going to happen. And he was right. And he was definitely not. I mean, I think both of us are so fond of Cornell, and we're so thankful for our experience there. And that place means a lot to us. The people, our relationships, it's part of who we are. So sure, you're pulling for them to win every game, but then that means if you're playing them, it's like, oh, really? I'd like to have a little bit more bad blood or, like more angst against these guys. And I certainly have fond of that play. The coaching staff there, I'm very connected with. We scrimmaged them in the fall. We have. So I'm always pulling for those guys. I'm pulling for those kids. I have a mentee. One of the kids on the team is my mentee as a Cornell mentor and alum, and that was Chase Erlin. So, the guy that was making those saves yesterday,
Man.
I was trying to kind of talk to him about, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to coach? And how can I help you? Because people helped me along the way. So kind of a weird vibe, but proud of those kids, proud of Connor. What a tremendous job those guys did this year, and just the way they play, the way they carry themselves, and that the future of that program super bright.
I want to talk about Bubba, if I could, for a second, Coach, because I'm sure there have been people that, for whatever reason, have been critical of Bubba because he came in with so much hype, and he was, what he did yesterday, what he did this season, the selflessness of making the move, and then stepping up the way he did to help you guys win a national championship. To me, it's one of the more special stories in recent lacrosse memory.
I think what people didn't know behind the scenes was, Bubba took a few injuries that we never really talked about, and I never felt like he truly got back to the 100% health he was as a freshman. And I think that always bothered him a little bit because he knew what he was capable of, and it was a little bit frustrating to him. But he never made it about himself. He never pouted, never complained. But deep down inside, I think he's got high standards, and he obviously wanted to do his best for the team. But I heard some of that stuff and saw some of that stuff, and obviously was a guy that I know the value that he's always brought
Mm-hmm.
as a player. There's what he does on the field, but what Bubba does off the field, the type of teammate he is, type of leader, what he does for our young guys is immeasurable. So I just was so happy when he moved over and people saw what a great job he was doing. He gets drafted high, and he was incredible yesterday. I thought he played his best 2 games of the year when we needed him most, which to me is a sign of a great player. And he's going to have a great pro career. He's going to have a great life because he's just a wonderful human being and just a team-first guy.
The other side, of course, is your goal. Speaking of guys that played their best when you needed them the most, Logan McNaney, who is just etched himself into the lore of Maryland lacrosse in a way that I mean, he was always going to be a good player. Jesus Christ, this weekend, absolutely insane. How do you possibly describe what he meant? And again, getting you guys over the finish line this weekend.
Yeah, we really needed that defensive effort, and I think Jesse Bernhardt and Carol Kennedy do a great job with our defense. And I loved our game plans for those games because those teams were really good. Princeton's offense, I think, was top 5 in the country. And Cornell just hit its stride at the right time. I mean, they put up 17 against Rutgers.
Yeah.
And they put up a ton against Ohio State. So against 2 teams in our league that we respect a lot, they scored a lot of goals. So they have great parts. They have really good schemes. And I thought the coaching staff did a really good job of putting our guys in good position, but I think our players tremendous job of executing the game plan. And a lot of it was straight up fundamentals, discipline, being on the same page, forcing guys where they needed to go, communicating well, and being on point. And a lot of the shots that Logan got, I think he'd be the first to tell you, there were guys getting the hands. Guys were moving. They weren't setting their feet. And that took just a little bit off, which makes Logan's job a whole lot easier. And I'm confident he'd say that. So, again, a collective effort there where you kind of need all of those things to come together to get that many saves. Because if guys are getting good looks and step downs, at the Final Four, most guys are going to can those.
And then this image that I saw after the game of Luke, and remembering his emotions a year ago after getting the opportunity and it didn't go for him. But you and I talked about the season he's had and how unbelievable he's been, and then for him to just be able to revel in it from one year to the next year. What did it mean to you to see him be able to get the face-off win at the end and celebrate after the emotions that he experienced Memorial Day a year ago?
Right. That's why we do what we do. Teaching guys about resiliency, teaching guys about life, realizing things don't always go your way. It's how you respond. And I kind of look at, what happened in 16. We lose in the national championship. A lot of people talked about Connor Kelly. He had a shot in overtime and, it didn't finish. And we had a lot of shots on that game, but people always talk about the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And Connor was left with that all summer. And then Connor took that and utilized that, and it motivated him to have an incredible year, first team All American, Offensive Player of the Year in our conference, Tewaaraton candidate. And through that adversity, he got stronger and better. And you just can't make up the development that Luke made in 1 year to go from 45%, an area of probably not one of our strengths last year, to all of a sudden be a first team All American at 66% or so and scoring goals and really dominating the middle of the field for us. That just doesn't happen. That's like something out of a movie. So it's a credit to Luke and what he did and his dedication. And instead of feeling sorry for himself, he really worked hard. The other three faceoff guys in the hog pen, guys like Gavin Ty and Shea Keithler and Mike Roach were a huge part of that. Carol
Sure.
Kenny, who works with our faceoff guys, our wing guys, John Geppert, Owen Probilski, Roman, Higgs, all those guys just collectively did a tremendous job. And it says a lot about Luke, but also those guys, kind of helping him make his job easier.
Coach, I know I'm going to have to let you go because you're so busy today, but if I could just – I know the last one was so important because, you had to end the drought, this thing you had to inherit when you took this job. What does this one mean to you now? Like, obviously it's undefeated. It's the conversation about you guys maybe being the greatest team ever, but what does this one mean to you 5 years removed from getting your first one?
I think for us, the narrative of, we couldn't win it and then we get one. And then, a few years go by and then people start saying, all right, well, was just that a fluke, right? And so I think to kind of counter that narrative, not that it's anything that we're going to do what we do, be the best is be the best. So we have our marching orders, we have our core values. But I think getting that one, and then because of the way things went last year, to stare that down and literally try to get back and get over the hump, and have so many guys come back and decide to take a chance on us for some of the fifth-year guys, guys like Probilski, guys like Kahn and Donville, and then the guys like Ray Hill, decided to come back for another year, not knowing if it was going to work out. But they took the chance. They made some sacrifices. They put their lives on hold. So to see those guys celebrating after seeing the tears of pain last year, to see the tears of joy, it's so awesome to see. I don't look at things like revenge or redemption. To me, it's just, man, seeing those guys go, you know what, let's try it again. We're going to risk breaking our heart. But life is all about, like, taking those risks so that your life is better. And if you don't take those risks, you're never really going to know what you could have done. And that's a tough way to go through life.
There's no doubt, man, but I could feel all those emotions, man. It was a special scene. Coach John Tillman, thank you for taking a couple of minutes this morning, and seriously, heartfelt congratulations. It was a really amazing thing to watch your team all season long, my friend.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support.